Ooh. That looks way, way thicker than it looks like in real life. Techtember, Techtober, whatever you want to call this time of year, it is in full swing. And now is the perfect time to remind everybody, but especially myself, that just because you liked the videos you saw doesn't mean you have to go out and buy that brand new piece of tech. Hey y'all, I'm Millage Austin. Thank you for checking out my channel. If you're new around here, please hit the subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. And if by the end of this video you like what you saw, go ahead and consider giving it a thumbs up. So if you're anything like me, and chances are because you're watching one of my videos that you are, then you both love this time of year and maybe kind of hate this time of year a little bit as well. And it can be kind of confusing because we love new tech. We love seeing the new cameras, new phones, new gadgets galore. But at the same time, you're kind of reminded that you want all the things, or you're reminded that some of the things that are coming out maybe don't answer a request. They don't answer a question you had. They don't do something that you wanted the next generation to do. Or you're also in the boat where you see all the things and you're like, I would take one of everything, and then your bank account says no. And like I said in the intro, we are already well into Techtember at this point. Apple has unveiled the new lineup of the iPhone 14. They unveiled, I believe, the next iteration of the Apple Watch. Insta360 the other week just released the X3, the follow-up to the highly successful One X2, and GoPro has the GoPro 11 coming out later this week, and DJI has teased that I think the next release for them is going to be their next action camera as well later this week. So there's just all sorts of new tech out there to be looked at, to be tried, to be purchased. And with all these releases of new action cameras, DSLRs, mirrorless cameras, phones, watches, you name it, it's a great time to remind myself and others that we don't necessarily have to go out and buy that brand new piece of equipment within the first month of it being released. And I have 5 reasons why you should maybe consider pausing when you go to hit add to cart next time. And so my first reason about why you should hit pause and not necessarily add to cart so quickly is because everything that's coming out now is not really that much better than the previous generation or even the previous 2 generations. A lot of times what we are seeing are just little tweaks here and there. 60 frames per second in 4K versus 30. You don't quite get the 120, you're not getting 210, something crazy like that. Almost none of the tech that is being released these days is that earth-shattering. Somebody has already done it in a cinema camera. They've already done it in a mirrorless camera. Somebody has already done it in another phone. And very rarely these days does something absolutely change the game. Occasionally you do get a piece of tech that just rewrites the history of action cameras, that rewrites the history of drones, but it's not every year like they're trying to make you think. And when they do a complete revamp of the game, whether it be GoPro with their Hero series, whether it be camera companies with their mirrorless versus DSLR cameras, whether it even be the latest smartphones, a lot of times it leads into number 2, and that's there's even more tech to buy. And so the price you see is not the price that you're going to pay to get into the next level of the game. Now, most brands are great about avoiding this happening every year. Most brands are able to, for about 2 to 3 years, keep the same batteries, keep the same ports, keep the same accessories that go on something like a camera, a watch, a drone. But every so often, as was the case from GoPro, from the 3 to the 4, from the 5 to the 6, from I believe the 8 to the 9 or the 7 to the 8, one of those two, and then like DJI on a few of theirs, you go from having different style batteries over here that you've gotten 7, 8, 9 of them to something completely different. Another great example is Insta360. The One X2 had one type of battery. Well, they gave it more power, more juice, but it's also now a bigger battery physically. So now for the X3, you're going to have a different battery. So if you have a bunch of different batteries for your old One X2, they're not going to work in the X3. So you've already got to make the decision, do I need to buy the X3 or do I buy maybe the One X2 and get a bunch more batteries versus the price that you pay for the other one? And that brings us to reason number 3, and that's new tech is always more expensive. And in recent years, it's been even more true, whether it was chip shortages and labor markets and the cost of shipping things going up and up and up. And so new tech is almost always going to be more expensive, it seems. And to an extent, it makes sense with technology being revamped, with new code being written, with new experiences being added. You have to pay for that. You have to pay for the experience of the people who created this technology for you, but it's still a burden on the wallet, and it always gives me anxiety. I know probably 3 or 4 people, every time the new iPhone gets released, they've got it. And so I can't imagine the thousands on thousands of dollars that they have paid for these phones over the years. When my work iPhone 11, I feel like it works just fine and I don't need the iPhone 13. Same thing with my Samsung Galaxy S9. I haven't updated that in several years. I would love to, but I don't have to because it works great for what I need. It works great on texting, it works great on most apps, and it actually takes really good photos and video. And along the same lines, but the antithesis to that is when a new device gets announced, let's say the DJI Mini 3 Pro, the predecessor comes down in price. And that's one of the reasons why I continue to stand by the Mini 2 as the best consumer entry-level drone out there. The price just has continued to come down. And so if you can go get a Canon R when the new camera comes out, if you can go get a GoPro Hero 9 when the 11 comes out, if you can sacrifice not having the newest of the new, chances are you'll find a really great deal on an older piece of technology that probably actually didn't even get used, because a lot of these companies have warehouses full of these devices that they're just trying to get rid of. That's the thing, is if you just hold off a little bit longer, when these devices start rolling out, the prices on the predecessor will start going down. Granted, you also do run the risk of them discontinuing something and not being able to get it, but then you can always find a gently used item and you will be just as happy as if you had the new. And finally, that brings us to reason number 5 to hit pause and not hit add cart, and it's bugs. I don't know if you remember when the Mini 3 Pro and the Mavic 3 Cine were released, but I remember watching several videos by Ken at Original Dobo and Peter Lindgren and some others. They always said the caveat, this is not a full production model that I'm using. It did not have the latest firmware updates. This one did this. I had this one that didn't do that. They all said, I've been promised firmware updates to, upgrade it to get it to where it'll do active track, to where it'll do this, that, and the other. So it also pays, if nothing else, if you are going to go ahead and buy it, it pays to wait a couple months. Wait for a couple firmware updates to roll through for people to find the bugs as they're out using them and they're clicking and they're slamming them down and they're running them through their paces. Just wait a little bit, let other people be the guinea pigs, and then once you buy your device 3, 4, 5 months later, it works exactly as advertised. And I say all this because over the last few days, I have found myself wanting and really eyeing the Insta360 X3. And this is kind of different for me in that I've never owned a 360 camera. I have the Insta360 Go 2. That's not an actual 360 camera, and I like it for what it is, but there's a lot of things that it doesn't do that the GoPro does, that the X3 does. And so I've really been kind of considering the predecessor, but when I see the X3, and especially how easy it is to use, I'm considering getting one, but I'm trying to hold off a few months to let some people run it through its paces, get some firmware updates, and then maybe I'll bite the bullet and add that to my arsenal. So there you have it, a quick and easy video this week, trying to get back onto my weekly schedule. I know I missed my long form video last week, but it just kind of got a little hectic and I just needed to take a break, a step back after doing 3 videos a week for the month of August, I believe it was. But there you have it. I just wanted to give y'all and myself that little reminder that when you see that new piece of tech, when GoPro, Insta360, Canon, whoever it is, when they release that new device, hit pause, don't hit add to cart right away, because you may end up regretting the time spent rather than the time that you waited.